music. Certain folks aren't against others at all. They simply struggle with the clamor of gatherings, the buzz of talk, bursts of giggles, the endless pressure to put on a show. These types often invent reasons to skip a bash, pause before agreeing to hang out with a buddy. Gazing into the glass, pondering how mere proximity to company turns into an exhausting emotional sprint. They're not aloof, superior, or reclusive by nature. They experience existence in a distinct way. The mental reasons why some dodge social occasions go beyond mere timidity or apathy. It's rooted in safeguarding. It's the subtle conflict pitting bonds against ease, longing for inclusion against the urge for space, or music. Understand this. For certain individuals, parties and such don't energize them. They sap their vitality. Each chat acts like yet another window cluttering their thoughts. Every grin adds to the facade they're maintaining. It's not indifference on their part. They invest deeply. They detect subtle vocal changes, fleeting facial cues, shifts in vibe. They spot forced chuckles or concealed unease. Their brains are tuned for profound insight, yet such keen observation carries a price tag: music sensory overload. Social unease doesn't always stem from dread. At times, it's sheer emotional fatigue masked as retreat. Experts in the mind have discussed introversion for ages, but we frequently overlook that it's not a lack of social urge. Rather, it's a hunger for genuine interaction. Vritmisvarer. Those who steer clear of crowd scenes aren't shunning humanity. They're evading the shallowness that plagues big assemblies. Their neural setups flourish on authenticity when they declare, music, quote, iroru. It's not sloth. It's safeguarding their inner world. They seek silence not out of disdain for company, but because hush allows them to reconnect with their core self. There's a profound mental aspect to why crowds can feel oppressive. Music. Any collective scenario quietly activates an ancient brain response. Music. The drive for communal security. Our species developed in clans, and past exclusion could spell actual demise. Thus, even now, entering a space packed with others prompts your physique to check for welcome. Music. Do I belong? Am I under scrutiny? For the especially sensitive to feelings, this vigilance persists endlessly. The psyche continues evaluating, contrasting, gauging. Little surprise that opting for home feels simpler. Yet, here's the irony. Plenty of these crowd avoiders yearn intensely for profound ties. They desire comprehension without the crush, closeness sans vulnerability, dialogue but solely when it holds weight, mirth but not amid chit-chat echoes. This is music, the subtle ache of the socially withdrawn, the pull between seclusion and realness. For it's not solitude they dread, music, but alienation amid the throng. If you've ever turned down a get-together and later regretted it, you've brushed against this irony. You browse event snapshots, faces beaming, illuminations shimmering, and a quiet voice inside murmurs, "Perhaps I ought to have joined." But honestly, at heart you sensed it wouldn't suit. Not due to exclusion, but because you'd be present physically, not wholly engaged. You'd be ticking off the clock until an exit without seeming impolite. You'd grin despite weariness. That's not integration, that's endurance. Studies on emotional acuity reveal that some harbor elevated sensory processing sensitivity. Such persons absorb inputs, music, visuals, noises, feelings, more intensely than most. Busy settings can flood them. Talks overlapping tunes, strobing beams, nonstop motion. It's beyond mere annoyance, it's distressing. Their minds absorb extra data each moment. To shield themselves, they pull back. Thus, evasion isn't invariably a glitch. Occasionally, it's savvy. It's the form signaling. Quote, decode. Yet culture seldom grasps that. Our era favors outgoingness. We celebrate the boisterous, the engaging, those who navigate crowds effortlessly. We view aloneness as a defect, quietude as unease, contemplation as frailty. Folks who sidestep social meetups frequently hear in youth. Quote 3. But suppose bypassing the racket is their path to purpose. Suppose their reticence isn't an issue, merely a choice. There's further a core mental connection, tying self-image to group conduct. Numerous withdrawn types have endured settings where they felt invisible or misconstrued. Gradually, the mind builds a link. Proximity to crowds equates to inner turmoil. The deeper mind recalls slights, like the frame recalls hurt. So when an outing invite arrives, their thoughts don't imagine spotting what looks like a casual get-together, but it feels like a possible rerun of scrutiny. This isn't about shying away from folks in general. It's about dodging the cycle of emotional strain. Interestingly, these individuals often possess the sharpest emotional smarts in the space. Once they decide to join in, they absorb more than they express. They pick up on nuances that slip past everyone else. Their compassion is profound, yet their apprehension of getting depleted is just as strong. Picture them carrying a flame that glows more intensely than average, yet it consumes quicker as well. Each interaction in society draws from their reserves, so they weigh that expense thoughtfully. Yet this doesn't seal them into loneliness. Actually, plenty of those who steer clear of crowds thrive in intimate duo-based bonds. They truly glow in secure settings where genuineness flows without the need for pretense. Research indicates that those leaning introverted or dealing with social unease frequently shine in enduring partnerships, pouring in commitment once faith is built. They may skip most bashes, but if they step up for you on a heartfelt or intellectual level, it's genuine. That said, we shouldn't overlook the solitude that can tag along with this habit. Sidestepping group scenes might shield from overload, but it risks cutting off from fresh chances. We're built for community as humans. Even the deepest thinkers crave a sense of inclusion in something bigger. The trick is locating spots that seem secure enough to participate without compromising one's core. For certain people, that could involve intimate meetups, common interests, or significant routines. It's not pushing extroverted actions, it's reshaping what connection looks like. Lately, experts in psychology have pinpointed a phenomenon known as social exhaustion. It's the mental drain that hits after extended time around others. You could sense it post a full day of conferences or lingering at a soiree. That faint haze of detachment, like your feelings have been pulled taut. For those extra attuned to stimuli, it creeps in earlier. It's understated, building slowly. A grin starts to feel burdensome. Chuckles ring empty. And abruptly, quiet is all you crave. Not from sorrow, but to restore your inner balance. Folks who dodge gatherings tend to craft intricate habits around this reality. They could show up fashionably late and exit promptly, or offer to assist in the prep area, not fleeing the crowd, but gaining a pretext to shift from the spotlight. They might glance at their device amid chats, not from boredom, but for a brief pullback into familiarity. Such subtle moves serve as survival tools, methods to handle the unseen weight of interpersonal vibes. Music. And get this, we seldom discuss it, but steering clear isn't necessarily a flaw. At times, it's straight-up savvy. Music grasping your boundaries, acknowledging your requirements, respecting your inner wiring. That's emotional savvy at work. The issue isn't the sidestepping itself, it's the self-criticism that tags along. Society drills into us that outgoing means thriving. Music. But suppose true achievement is tuning into yourself. Still, equilibrium counts since utter withdrawal, cozy initially, can morph into a void over time. Our minds require reflections, others who mirror facets of ourselves we miss solo. Personal development sparks through links, even subtle or infrequent ones. Thus, for avoiders of social dues, the aim isn't music morphing into outgoing types, it's crafting ways to connect sans self-sabotage. Begin modestly. A brew with a reliable pal, a stroll alongside someone who gets quiet moments, a virtual group where you share at your pace. Mingling needn't spell crowds or clamor. Music. It might signify harmony. It could involve gaze sharing, mutual chuckles, profound music, attentiveness. What those skipping social functions really pursue isn't seclusion, music, it's realness. They're not ducking from the world. They're hunting for substance worth emerging for. And at times, they simply require empathy from the rest. Music. To avoid personalizing their no-shows, to grasp that uttering. A quote for to isn't dismissal. Music It's self-care. They're not turning down relationships, they're embracing calm. It's a subtle bravery, the sort overlooked in fanfare, yet worthy of acclaim, since it demands fortitude to resist the pull of the norm, to cherish your emotional capacity amid a culture that praises excess buzz. Music. The mindset behind dodging social scenes isn't a tale of dread, music. It's one of inner resource management. Each exchange carries a price, and they've mastered directing their vitality to what counts. Music. Occasionally, the toughest part for social event skippers isn't the refusal. It's enduring the aftermath of that choice, the remorse that lingers, the soft doubt about letting music someone down, about unintentionally shutting a gateway. They rerun the scene mentally, seeking to validate it. Music. I simply required some breathing room. I felt exhausted. Perhaps another occasion. Music. Yet at their core, they understand this goes beyond a single incident. It's a recurring pattern, a cycle their existence repeatedly echoes. Music. Outreach attempts are met with quiet retreats. Few grasp that evasion doesn't emerge in maturity. Its roots trace back further. Perhaps it originated when a kid felt invisible amid a bustling crowd. Music, or they served as the attentive ear in a boisterous household or the subdued companion among chatty peers. They discovered that remaining subdued offered more security than raising one's voice, and observing felt less daunting than participating. Gradually, that reserve shaped their very essence. Music. They never ceased attending. They merely withdrew their complete engagement. From a mental health perspective, this fosters what's known as emotional inhibition. Music. The habit of repressing feelings to sidestep unease. It's less about dreading external judgments and more about seeking internal security. Yet here's the inspiring reality. Those who steer clear of social assemblies frequently harbor profound internal landscapes. Their isolation nurtures innovation, introspection, and compassion, music, that flourish away from perpetual clamor. They embody the contemplators, the watchers, the authors, music, the understated stabilizers who maintain equilibrium in turbulent surroundings. Their reticence isn't void. It's fertile ground for significance to emerge. However, music lingering there excessively can transform that haven into confinement, constructed from excessive rumination, insecurity, and perceived scrutiny. Music. In psychological terms, this forms the avoidance cycle. The further one shies from unease, the more it intensifies. Each refusal brings temporary ease, yet reinforces the link between interaction and tension. It's akin to sealing a pane to block out clamor, only for the atmosphere to stagnate over time. Disrupting this loop doesn't involve compelling participation in crowds. Rather, it entails redefining its meaning. Rather than viewing gatherings as depleting forces, they can evolve into trials of personal revelation. Modest chances to music extend without fracturing. A commonly overlooked quality among those who evade communal scenes is their elevated self-perception. Music. They detect subtle bodily cues, the constricting torso prior to stepping into a space, the labored inhale before uttering words, the accelerated pulse as focus shifts toward them. Without guidance, such vigilance curves back on itself, breeding excessive self-focus. But through cultivation, it shifts to mastery over emotions. The essence lies not in silencing perception, it's in stabilizing it. Methods like centering exercises, deliberate respiration, tactile attention, and brief affirmations signal to the mind, I remain secure. Since a large portion of communal withdrawal stems not from interpersonal dread. Music. It's the physique recalling instances of vulnerability. Nevertheless, the paradox persists. Numerous individuals sidestepping social occasions rank among the most heartfelt givers of emotion one might encounter. They connect profoundly. Music. They retain specifics. They reach out subtly. They express concern through understated acts. They merely falter at the performative aspects, music, of existence, the elements requiring display. For them, affection operates quietly. It's the late-night message, the considerate action, the unyielding attention without intrusion. Music. Their bonds form away from the masses. They develop in unobserved, serene intervals. Additionally, an evolutionary lens illuminates music, this phenomenon. Not all are wired to dominate the group's focal point. In prehistoric collectives, equilibrium mattered greatly. Certain members pursued game, others foraged, some stood sentinel. Those inclined toward vigilance frequently spotted perils, discerned relational strains, identified overlooked trends. Their reserve ensured endurance. In contemporary settings, that acuity manifests variably. It could involve sensing vocal nuances in dialogue or gauging an ambiance's vibe instantaneously. When stimuli overwhelm simultaneously, the psyche withdraws to hush music as a protective strategy. The current era complicates this. It elevates exposure. If not engaging in connections, sharing online, or showcasing talents, music. It seems like stagnation, but in reality, communal evasion isn't indolence. Music. It's defiance against sensory overload. It's the organism signaling, chat quote 5. Music. Nonetheless, tranquility and development should harmonize, for excessive calm leads to desensitization and prolonged isolation to self-erasure. The aim isn't to resist the craving for hush, music. It's to discover bonds that honor it. In counseling practices, graded exposure emerges as a principle. It involves incremental, tolerable advances into the unfamiliar. Music, not to erase acuity, but to broaden endurance. For an individual dodging social functions, this could entail showing up for a quarter hour, then departing without remorse, or phoning a companion over an in-person encounter. The intent isn't to impose transformation, it's to demonstrate to the stress response that engagement needn't spell hazard. Gradually, the physiology adopts a revised narrative. I can manage this, but let's music delve deep. Why is mere presence among others so draining on the heart at times? Music, social spaces reflect our inner selves right back at us. Each exchange uncovers layers of how we perceive ourselves. When a laugh erupts without us grasping the punchline, isolation settles in. Music. As groups sync on mutual vibes, we sense our offbeat timing. That discord highlights our internal separation, the divide, music, between the face we present and the true essence beneath. For those who embrace genuineness, the divide often widens in worlds designed for shallow ties. Music. Thus, steering clear becomes a stand against splintering. It's declaring, I refuse to divide my core for acceptance. That's hardly a flaw, it's wholeness. Yet wholeness carries solitude, since society confuses quiet with invisibility. Folks dodging gatherings aren't truly absent. Music. They're off in their own realm, restoring inner strength, pondering unprompted depths. Music. They revisit dialogues, dissect their layers, question if their words landed or crossed lines. Music. They dwell in the echoes of exchanges. Hours after the crowd disperses, their thoughts linger, organizing, music digesting, contemplating. That's the price of true insight. Still, within that intensity blooms something exquisite. When they form bonds, it's intense and meaningful. Music. Their talks offer refuge. Their focus feels holy. Music won't compete for their engagement. In your company, they're fully there. They offer what fleeting socializers rarely can. Complete immersion. Music. They don't dart between faces. They delve into substance. They're not hunting affirmation. They're seeking true harmony. Music. For so many, recovery starts by viewing aloneness not as flight, music, but as a vital resource. Cherish the hush while still yearning for ties. Savor seclusion, music without vanishing. Equilibrium doesn't demand endless mingling. Music. It emerges from discerning when to advance and when to retreat. As you observe your habits without critique, music evasion transforms into insight. Choices flow from harmony, not dread. Society doesn't require universal clamor. Music. It craves observers. It values those who gauge a space's mood before words fly. Music. It honors the quiet voices carrying weight. When grasped, social withdrawal matures into relational savvy. The skill to dive deep rather than often, since substance, not clamor, forges genuine links. Music. Perhaps that's the core revelation in this mindset. Those skipping social scenes aren't spurning life. They're aching for an authentic iteration, one where they needn't chop themselves into palatable fragments, music, for inclusion. A realm where quiet isn't uneasy, where glances supplant chit-chat, where feelings can unfold freely. Music, lacking that realm, they craft it alone. And at times, that's the purest way to navigate existence. Music. Eventually, upon re-entering a space, they'll approach anew. No more forcing fits. They'll enter serene, music anchored, intact. And those attuned will sense it. A vibe that demands no spotlight. Music, a serenity that seeks no nod. That's the strength of former avoiders. They re-emerge enriched. Music. And perhaps that's the takeaway for everyone. Bonds don't spark in throngs. They ignite in seclusion. Music, through profound self-discovery that allows authentic arrival. Mastering your quiet grants voice to what matters. Music, respecting your boundaries, creates space for welcoming others. Those evading crowds aren't flawed. Music. They're forging the tranquility that enables true bonds. And when links form, it's no act, it's essence.